Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. This one's a bit of a quick chit chat on how diagnostics and checking your injector diagnostics can be a bit of a waste of time, depending which vehicle it's on. And you know, things have changed a bit over the years. So as I've said in other videos, just to be clear, on the older 1KDs like the 120 Prados and the Hiluxes up to September 09, diagnostics was really good. You know, you could really look at some of those regular readings that we point out where they go out, and usually it's not just one, usually there's a few that go out hand in hand sort of by the same percentages, which confirm you've definitely got a problem. Sometimes you've got a problem if you're looking at diagnostics and you pick only one thing, like a lot of people seem to be, and I've said this before, really focused on those individual feedback values. Okay, the individual feedback value is a very small part of the picture, if you know what I mean. That's all it is, the individual feedback value, how much fuel's being injected, either added or subtracted at that cylinder. So, small part of the picture, okay? Now, the other thing you've got to take into account, on the 1KDs from September 09 onwards, particularly the later ones that we know the injectors are going to be good for a lot longer, they can and do fluctuate a lot as they're warming up. So the old thing was, you know, people used to say, oh, you know, you got to do a cold start and all that sort of thing, which again, you've got to be careful with. I've said that before, for people that know what they're doing and experience with what's normal and what's not, because all those readings, the parameters they quote are when the engine's at full operating temperature, okay? Now I just want to mention, this is a 1GD in front of us, and similar information on that compared to the late 1KDs, and that is because they've got DLC coatings on the wearing parts on injectors. You know, time's gone by, things have got better. You're not going to see the wear rates that we saw on all the earlier common rail injectors, okay? All the older stuff, some really, you know, really terrible wear that you could see with your eyes, no microscope needed type thing, you know. But once they put that DLC coating on, it was a lot better. Then I suppose it comes down to maintenance and other things. Now, I don't. You probably know if you watch my videos, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all of this 2755cc engine. They call it a 2.8, but it's almost a 2.8. It doesn't matter what they quote in the numbers on the kilowatts or the torque. What the seat of your pants feeling, your right foot, you know, it's just not the same as a 3 litre. It's not the same as a 1KD, which was not quite a 3 litre, but pretty close. A lot closer to a 3 litre than this is to a 2.8. So there's no real replacement for cubic displacement. You know, that even rhymed. I didn't plan that, but anyway. So not a fan of this engine as far as if you want something that, you know, that zips around. It's a bigger, heavier car than some of the older ones, and the engine is less powerful. It's got less power, less torque. I don't care what the numbers say. Seat of your pants feeling, not exciting. And some people say, oh, you know, I've got one, it's fine, and it is fine. Like, don't get me wrong, a new vehicle, especially a new Toyota, is awesome, mate. Everybody loves their new cars, especially people that have got their even older Toyotas, they love them. So of course anybody's going to love a new Toyota. You know, what we don't love, as we've described before, it's not what this video is about, the way the transmission shifts, the software needs an improvement. People keep asking questions about that. Now, why would you want to or have to modify a brand new vehicle and put auto coolers and lock-up kits and whatever? It just shouldn't be that way. Toyota needs to address this issue, and they may think it's not an issue, so that's up to them. You know, I think it's an issue because it does create, and we've got the evidence there. We've seen it. It's in videos. It creates a lot of heat on the coldest days. You can create a lot of heat in your transmission. It doesn't mean it happens to everyone. If you're driving slowly under certain conditions, it won't happen. So at highway speeds, usually over 90 kilometers an hour is your worst time because you get more wind resistance. They're a big vehicle. They're like a brick, okay? But this isn't about that. This is about injector diagnostics being a waste of time. So if you think, like if you've got a 120 Prado, then you probably should definitely regularly do a diagnostic check every 6 months is probably advisable. If you've had your injectors replaced, you can probably relax on it a bit, at least for the first few years, and go back to looking for diesel smoke, you know, the black smoke, listening for noises, abnormal noises, does it run smooth, and all your regular servicing, checking when you change your filters, check what sort of fuel comes out, because contamination is going to cause premature problems, so you got to be careful of that. Careful who you let work on the vehicle. Don't let anyone in on the fuel system again. It's all sealed up. It's not worth the risk of contamination. The valve clearance you should be checked when the injectors were done. So the point is, diagnostics on those vehicles, you could probably relax it to, you know, a quick check once a year or something like that. After 2 or 3 or 4 years, that's where you want to get back onto the, you know, every 6 months, or if you've got your own device where you can check it every now and then. But one of the key things is looking at that load reading, okay? So the load reading is really, it can vary. So that's one thing to take into consideration. It can vary a lot, but it's one of the best indicators, okay? You can compare so many vehicles where it's the same, and whenever there's a problem with the injectors, generally that goes up. Now, if you're wondering about data on the 1GD, we'll have another video coming out soon, but we have got a couple of videos that I think they're private at the moment. They may come out in time. You know, we can't put too many videos out there. People are already saying they can't keep up. So if you're one of the guys that can keep up and you want to see the videos that aren't on the YouTube channel yet, some of them get pre-released in our Facebook groups. For example, we've got a group, #1GD Forever Crew, right? We've got one for each engine, 1GR, 1KD, 1KZ, they're the 4 main engines, right? So in the Prado. So 1GD Forever Crew, you'll find some videos in there. You'll find the brand new engine diagnostic to show you what all the readings are from brand new on a 2019 1GD. I think you'll find it, we did it again at 10,000 Ks. Wasn't too fussed at 20, maybe it was busy, whatever the case may be, but we're planning to do it again, probably 20 to 30,000 Ks somewhere. We'll do it again. You're not going to see anything, I can tell you already, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to see anything at 40 or 50 or 60. The point is, the reason I haven't released it and the reason we've done it, we've got it there so we know what it is, okay? Now, when we see changes, when we see vehicles and we start to see changes and things that you need to look out for, that's when we'll let you know and we'll do something more publicly. We don't need to confuse your brain with things that don't matter, okay? What matters here is diagnostics can be a real waste of time. Checking vehicles, if you've got a, say, a 2013 onwards 1KD, it's pretty well a waste of time, okay? Depending how many Ks it's done, you're not going to see anything. The injectors are too good. They've got, I'm telling you straight, they're awesome. They've got a DLC coating. What does happen though, they do get a bit of wear on the nozzle needles. That's about the only wearing part that we can see with our eye without going to, so I'm not saying there's no wear, but you've got to understand that DLC coating, less friction, and it's harder, so they just work better for longer, okay? That's one of the main things. So you really need to go back to thinking about, okay, injectors, do they have seats under them? How long are they going to last? And a few people I noticed have asked, you know, what's the recommendation on these? Well, I'm going to say I don't believe it's going to be too much different to any other engine. You know, you just got to base it on averages. Any of these injector seats in a small diesel engine, they're going to end up with around about the same sort of heat, some deterioration. They're all very similar systems, even though they're different. And that's why we recommend with the 1KDs about 170K, because not only are the injectors when people start complaining about noises with 1KDs, okay, for the very few that are under 100,000 or under 120, every time we trace it back, someone's been in there and checked the valve clearances at 40 or 80,000 or 120 or both or all three, and that risk of contamination, the way they bend the pipes and let the crap into the injectors, will be the cause of the problem, because it's so rare, and every time it happens, it's like, yep, someone's been here. We put a video recently. Look, you might not see that one again. It's an injector replacement video that goes for approximately 3 hours, and it's one of those things in the VIP group. So, you know, in fairness, we try not to put too much out on YouTube, okay? So just trying to slowly drip feed it out to you, maybe a video a day. I hope you can handle that, and then you should be able to keep up and catch up. If you need more, then be in those Facebook groups, search for those extra posts. That sometimes there's going to be a video there that doesn't get released on YouTube. You know what I mean? It's just a different aspect. It's not maybe not quite suitable, if you know what I mean. So, so diagnostics, yeah. Look, you know, I think I just want to call this diagnostic waste of time or something like that, because it's almost to the point. So it's worth doing a check every now and then, once a year or whatever. You compare the data to what it used to be, and if you do check your vehicle once a year, you'll get to know what it is. Yeah, and if you watch best thing you can do is watch all our diagnostic videos, right? So this isn't showing you much on. We haven't got a diagnostic screen here. It's a bit of chit chat. We've done the videos with the diagnostic screen, and if they're not on YouTube, there's more in our groups, mate. In that injector and engine group, we've got it in there. Wherever, right? They're out there, been doing it for years. We were putting more on Facebook before I started putting more videos on the YouTube channel just over a year ago. So now, all those sorts of diagnostic videos, most of them are going to be on YouTube, okay? And then we'll share them to those groups as well if need be. So I just want to be clear, don't rely on diagnostics, solely on diagnostics, okay? So have a look at it. If you think you've got a problem, looking at the diagnostic screen, but the car runs perfectly fine, it's only done 80,000 Ks, you change the fuel filter, it's good, and what's in there before the filter, when it's all nice and clean, and it's like, there's no evidence of bad fuel, nobody's worked on it, everything's right, and there's no noise, and it runs beautiful, but you're getting this injector feedback a little bit fluctuating, I'd say probably don't worry about it. You need to know what specification is, you need to know. That's what I suppose pays to do it once every year. Then you can compare the difference. And if you've got the data recorded from the time before, then you've got something to compare to. As I said, hashtag 1GD Forever Crew, and you'll be able to see what standard data is at brand new and at 10,000 kilometres on one of these engines. I suppose brand new at 10,000, the main thing is you've got brand spanking new and you've got 10,000, then you compare the pair. Did things need to wear in and bed in? You know what I mean? To get more accurate data, because what happens when it's brand new might be a bit different at 10,000 Ks. What it's got at 10,000 Ks is probably not going to change for a long time. So anyway, diagnostics waste of time. So look, there's no need to continue going to people to get a diagnostic, and it's good that people haven't been doing that. They're checking their own, they're using that load reading on their, if you've got the AutoFix 3210 from AutoFix Australia, Trevor Ryan will be able to sort you out with one of those if you want to be able to look at things like the load reading. You could probably just, find him on Facebook, Trevor Ryan, and shoot him a messenger just for your load reading. It's really important, guys. We've done some other videos there about that and showing you how the AutoFix work. I think that's one of the key readings. If that's in check, then there's probably not an issue with your injectors. So I'll go as far as to say, yep. The load reading is probably one of the most important, maybe even more important than the feedback values, but not always, okay? So if you've got a problem, if you've got a noise, you've got a knock, then we need to look at all aspects. We need to listen for noise, cold as well. We need to do a diagnostic, including cold as well. Drive it cold, let it warm up, look at the diagnostics, look at, drive it again. Lots of testing needs to be done. If you've got a possible premature failure or something you're concerned about, we need to check it out thoroughly. Now, I don't want you to worry about things unnecessarily as well, whether it's the 1KD or the 1GD. They both make some really weird, funny noises. You could say this one's quieter. Well, they're quieter because they are a different design engine. They've got hydraulic lifters, which quietens things down a bit. It's got a timing chain there that, can quieten down or make more noise. It's kind of a good vehicle to own for lower maintenance, okay? So remember, you got that DPF there. So it may not be suitable for you depending on what your use is, okay? If you're doing, we still find even doing mainly long trips, the timing of the DPF burn, quite often it just doesn't work out, you need to be sort of doing those longer runs at the right time, not just do the longer runs, to get a good burn so that hopefully you don't have any issues. And I'd suggest then it's going to be quite reliable. But the positives are there's a lot less maintenance to do on these. These are certainly a vehicle that, for people that like doing their own maintenance, and that's what they do, the 1GD is possibly a bit more suited to people that would like to do their own maintenance. At the end of the day, it's change your oil still, it's change your oil filter still, it's change your air filter still, you know how to do this stuff. You still need to do things like be able to bleed brake fluid every couple of years, every 40,000 Ks, but you don't need to do valve clearance checks. You don't need to, I recommend against that anyway every 40,000 Ks on the 1KDs, you know that, but you don't need to do that on these engines. You don't need to change your timing belt at 150,000 Ks, okay? Eventually there could be bigger failures where major work needs to be done, replacing hydraulic lifters and replacing timing chains and stuff like that. So pros and cons, I've mentioned it before, But just thought I'd mention it again. I'm more about the diagnostics here. Waste of time. Just do the service, drive the vehicle, make sure your air filter box is sealed up nice and it's not leaking there. But even with a small amount of dust getting through, as I've pointed out before, these engines are tough. They deal with a lot of EGR, that dry abrasive soot. If it can handle that, it can handle a bit of dust. It's proof there that plenty of engines have handled it, but of course it gets to a point that it's going to do some permanent damage and you're going to need an engine if it's bad enough, so be aware of that. Anyway, that's my chit chat. Diagnostics is a waste of time ish, okay, so not fully. Just look at that load reading, stop wasting money going out getting your injectors checked all the time. Even on the older vehicles, you can use that load reading. If that's sweet and you've got no noises, no smoke, and you're happy, look, I'll be honest, even my vehicle, I'll probably check it maybe once a year, and then I go, what did I do that for? Because I already see the load reading, I already hear, it makes some noise sometimes, but it's normal, The 120s are a different system, like the older Hiluxes. Always taking into account, the Hiluxes are noisier as well. They're a lot noisier. They're more of a commercial vehicle, kind of like, tradie type, a bit cheaper, hasn't got all the sound insulation the Prados have got. So Hiluxes are going to be noisier. Yeah, they do have that bit of a rattle sometimes at certain load positions between 1500 and 2000 revs. Guys, judge it by averages is the best thing. The seats aren't going to last forever. The injectors aren't going to last forever. We've been doing this for years. We strip them down. We can see the wear. We know on averages it's just like a tyre, okay? You can tell me what car you've got, what size tyres it's got, what brand they are, and how many Ks it's done. And I've got a fair picture in my mind what they wear like, okay? Whatever the case may be. It's like, someone's age. If someone tells you their age, if they're 20, you've got a rough idea what they're going to look like, as in what sort of, aging process. I'm 40, okay, you got that picture in your head. I'm 60, I'm 80, you know what I mean? You got that picture in your head. Well, for me, injectors are just like that. I know injectors better than people, okay? So, and the same recommendation is probably going to be on this engine also. We need more vehicles at those kilometres, more water under the bridge, more time to say too much yet, but of course the injectors may be working fairly well still at 170, as they may be in a 1KD, but how long are you going to risk those seats for? And if you're doing the whole job, for the sake of every 7 years, you know how long 7 years is? That's a long time. It's small money to replace the injectors every 7 years, okay? So anyway, guys, diagnostics, waste of time. Use your averages, use a bit of common sense. It's up to you if you want to take the recommendation or not. I'll just give out the information and bada bing, whatever you want to do. Thanks for watching. If you got something out of that, don't forget to give us the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn that notification on, because eventually we'll have a video, probably soon over the next couple of months, showing some diagnostic information on a 1GD FTV, or maybe more than one, maybe a few. Alright guys, thanks for watching. See ya.